Hi, I'm Linda Rumpf, reading tutor and parent support coach, and welcome to week 2, part 3 of my series on reading at home with kids. So, I'm a reading tutor, and my students tutor with me 2 times a week minimum, and some of them more. The consistency is very important, but I only get them for that 2 or 3 hours a week. You, as parents, have complete access to your child. And I'm bringing this series about reading at home with children because in 2022, my student data showed that children whose parents had the child read aloud to them for 30 minutes a day, at least 3 days a week, outside the days that we tutor, cut the time in half that it took them to level up grade levels in reading fluency. So this is huge, and I realized it right away when some of my students were just zooming forward and I asked the parents what they were doing. So, excuse me, I've had a frog in my throat for a couple days now. It's really, really dry out, late November, and I was just outside. I came in from pruning my plum trees. So bear with me because I definitely have a little cough. But the show must go on. So last night we looked at a really cool computer environment that I make available to my students for reading aloud to the computer. And they can send me a recording, and parents can get in there and access the recording as well. I'm so sorry. And so this is a way that busy parents can create reading aloud time for their child at home because it's just the child and the computer, no parent necessary. So for all you parents who travel a lot, have 2 jobs, don't have time to sit and read with your child at home or listen to them read, technology can be your friend. However, tonight we are going to talk about creating what's called the HLE in scientific journal articles. They call it the HLE, that's the home literacy environment. So reading online can be really great for children whose parents are always gone or their schedules don't mesh with when their parents are home. You know, children are super busy now too, always outside the home with their games and practices and programs, the extracurriculars. So, however, even if you're accessing online books, studies have shown that having a certain number of books in the home correlates to higher literacy for children. There was a study that was done that showed that having 100 or more books in the home produced higher literacy for those families. So I want to talk to you tonight about books. Now, choosing books to have around for your reader is dependent on their reading level, obviously. You shouldn't prevent yourself from stocking your library with all kinds of books. You as an adult want to also partake of books in your home in front of your children, reading, demonstrating those behaviors for them. That's really good to do. And it promotes family love of learning as well. If there are books on those shelves for everybody of every age level in the home. However, let's target your struggling reader. So whether it's your child or whether there's an adult in the home who struggles with adult literacy, it is very important that that person first be assessed to find out what is their instructional level with reading. Many struggling readers are grade levels behind if they're a child still in school, or for an adult, their reading might be below what they're required to do in the workplace. So they try to read at frustrational level. And that is not a level at which one can learn. So frustrational level is when you have more than 10% of the text on the page that you don't know. So what happens is that you're stopping as you read, or you're skipping over every third word, and your reading comprehension becomes zero because you can't remember from the beginning of the sentence to the end what it was even trying to say. So you're not taking in enough to get the context for words you don't know. If there's only about 10% of the text that you're unfamiliar with, then you'll use words from around it in the context to give you an idea of what that word means. So there's a sweet spot there that we have to hit in between wanting some content there that the reader doesn't already know so that they raise their level, and having enough there that they know so that they can get context clues to help them figure out unfamiliar words. So I give free assessments, and scrolling along the bottom of the screen here, you'll see my website. I have a private support community that you can join. And you also go to this website, www.myhighimpacttutoring.com, to claim your free assessment. This is a service that I offer, and we will meet after you set up your free assessment. We will meet for an hour. You get an hour free of me, of my time, and your reader will be there with me. And I will give them a series of passages to read. I will test them in vocabulary. I will test them with both implicit and explicit questions about the material. Implicit means things that aren't said directly in the text, but that they need to infer. So it tests working memory, it tests logic ability, and then the explicit questions are just to test their memory and basic reading comprehension for exactly what the text said. So we're going to look at all the different components. I'm screening for dyslexia while I'm giving the assessment. You will find out a lot about your reader, and it's completely free. So go to my website, www.myhighimpacttutoring.com, and you could go to the appointments page and just set up the appointment, or you can click join the community and join my private support community, and then you'll get all kinds of good stuff like a welcome email, the link to the community. If you're watching here in the community, obviously you don't need the link already, but this video is going to be posted on YouTube as well. So I'm giving that information for people to join us here to get more support every week for things they might be wondering about, things they might have been frustrated about, things that their reader does that no one seems to be able to figure out why they can't read, reasons why maybe your child went through this or that program, but it didn't help. You know, we're going to be demystifying a lot of these things in the group. So come to the group, but definitely sign up for the assessment. So after we complete the assessment, we will know what grade level, or for an adult, what lexile level that you are reading at. So the Lexile level is a grade, like a rating of difficulty that they give each book now in the library. So if you get your books from the library, you can look books up online too. If you have books at home, you can put a title of a book into a Google search with Lexile level, and boom, it'll give you a number. So you'll know how difficult that book is compared to other books. That's called the Lexile level. But with children, we just do by grade level. And I also have Lexile levels per grade, matched to beginning of grade, middle of grade, end of grade level. So I'm also watching Lexile levels for children when I'm assigning them books. But anyway, so you want to build your home library, but you want to target the library to your struggling reader. So after the assessment, we'll know what their instructional level is. So the level that they're reading at plus about 10% information they might not know. So it's just a fraction higher than they can read. And that's the quickest way to level up fast. So we're bumping them up, bumping them up, bumping them up, bumping them up, bumping them up like this every week. Every lesson, they bump up a little. Whereas if you try to put them in a really difficult book, they don't bump up at all. There's no reading comprehension. So this is how we do it. It just has to go step by step by step, but it can go fast if you pick the right books. Okay, now your home literacy environment starts with books, and added to that can be place. So it's recommended that children read in the same place. And we're mostly talking about younger children, because older children, I have a cool app that they can download that's connected to my online reading program service that I use. And so they can read on the go. They can read while they're sitting in the bleachers waiting for their sports practice to begin. They can read right from their phone anywhere. They can read in bed, on a tablet. Younger children really respond well to a cozy nook or a special chair, or, a place that you meet up to read every day. So that's part of the home learning environment. And then another part is interaction. So studies show that parents who interact with children with reading have an effect on the child's early literacy. And interestingly enough, the effect has been shown to be magnified if there is a genetic propensity in the family for dyslexia. So now dyslexia is kind of a charged word. I like to say letter switching instead of dyslexia, because dyslexia is a dys, right? And we now know that people who do letter switching, it can be thought of as a disability, but it can also be thought of as a superpower, because we found that those people are excellent computer programmers. So, different skills require you to use 4-quadrant geometry, where you need to flip things and do mirror images. And they do that. They just do that naturally. That's why they're flipping the letters and reversing things. And it takes longer for them to learn to read, because if you had a choice of 4 different directions for something to go in, then how do you decide which direction you want it to be in? Well, eventually they can learn to read, but it just takes them longer because they have more choices. So that's one way of thinking about dyslexia. There are different types of dyslexia too that aren't that quite that simple. And there are many different issues people can have with their eyes, with reading. Those exist. However, this research that I was actually just reading today does show that for a general diagnosis of dyslexia, if that is genetically acquired, so if other people in the family have had dyslexia or reading issues that involve letter switching, those families had a much higher correlation even to parent interaction with reading and the home literacy environment than other struggling readers. So this is really good news for families who are dealing with this phenomena of letter switching going on, because you can have a strong effect on your child's ability to learn to read just by improving your home literacy environment. And so we've got to get books in there. We've got to get your child assessed. Then we've got to start getting books in the home to build up that home library. You want to get to 100 books. So we're going to do it little by little. And if you think about it, if you go to the library and get 10 books, and if you do that every week, even if you're taking the books back, well, in 10 weeks, you will have exposed your child to 100 different books. So I'm not saying you have to go out and spend all this money and buy 100 books right off the bat. There are ways to do this. So yeah, we're going to build up your home library and have you interacting with your child, making a time when they can read to you. And for very young children, the parent reading to the child so they can hear what the speech is supposed to sound like. For older children or struggling readers, time for them to read aloud so that they can hear their mistakes, so that they can build phonological awareness. And then thirdly, that place in the house that has a good association with it. It's cozy, it's comfortable, it's a place where you and the child can meet up to do the reading. Or if you've got a teen, it might be your teen hangs out in their room and you never see them. So you might not be as much talking about place and time for the child to read as you might be talking about the time when you check in with them. So knocking on their door, reminding them, oh, time to read, or, inviting them to the kitchen while you're preparing dinner so that they can read to you. All behaviors like that will create your home literacy environment. So, and get your child assessed, or if you're an adult, call me and we'll do the assessment together, you and I, and let's start creating that home literacy environment. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you here again tomorrow night. Bye-bye.